Okay, apparently the rest of this song is all ambience, so we're just gonna go ahead and move on. Coming at you live from the nation's capital, it's the Dick Burn Show. We are back for another episode of Pigskins and Pinfalls. What's up, Bobby? How you doing today?
So, I'm good, brother, man. How are you?
Hanging in there. Been a long day already, but we're hanging in there. So, remember how I said that we had to postpone a little bit later today because I had physical therapy today?
Correct.
Oh boy, did I have that all wrong. I walk in and they're like, the doctor's not at this location today.
Why
He's
are you here?
not? Your appointment's on Thursday.
Ah,
Can I get my parking validated so I don't have to pay real quick?
yeah, for real.
Oh god, that was horrible. You're out of town. You got a nice little different backdrop for you.
Yeah. Came up north to see the missus. Figured to spend a little bit of quality time with her before we end up making this move down to Florida. Well, I'm in Florida normally. She'll be joining me here, hopefully in the next 4 to 6 weeks is what we're shooting for, mid-April.
Oh damn, I didn't realize you guys were thinking that soon. But okay.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah. We've been looking at places. Got a couple of different ideas.
Then she has to
Yeah.
hear all of our bullshit every week.
Well, she's been with me long enough. She's heard.
She's
Just about
known the
everything.
both of us long enough. It's fine.
Correct. Correct.
So we've had a wild ass week this week.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. It
so
was,
much happened. Like so
for both sides. For both sides. Of
seriously,
Pigskins and
like Florida gang. What's up, Heaven? How you doing?
Pinfalls.
Yeah, no, it's just there's just so much like going on every front. We're here to talk about everything from those NFL report cards to the Ring of Honor's big return.
Yeah, we're gonna talk everything from Levis's milk fear to snakes made out of beer.
Speaking of the beer snake, let's go. We got the beer snake back, baby. God, I love DC. This is one of those moments where DC just does something and does it right. Did you see the actual pictures of that thing?
No, but I can look it up real quick.
Oh my god, it's not only, it wasn't just a straight shot up and down the stands. That thing was weaving in and out, and then by the time it got to the top of the stands, they're like, we gotta keep going. It goes all the way around the top of the stands. It's ridiculous.
Holy shit! Looking at it, oh my god!
Right? So let's just go ahead and start off with this because I just think it's absolutely hilarious. So of course we were talking about it the other week. During the first week of the XFL, during the Defenders game, everyone gets mad that they take the beer snake away. So
Yeah,
they
they
start
put the kibosh
throwing
on.
lemons. And
When, like,
they start
gives
throwing
you-
lemons on the field, and it's to the point where it's just like, and of course, week 2, DC doesn't have a home game, and so it's like, all right, week 3, we're coming in. What are we gonna do about the beer snake? We need to make a decision before the show, before we go live, and I'm gonna pull up because I know I put it on my Instagram. I reposted it. They actually made official like beer snake rules, and
Did they really?
yeah, you didn't see that?
No.
Oh
That's
my god.
great.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick. There's an actual like post that they made letting everybody know the beer snake is back. And then
Talk about
here's
just embracing it.
100%. 100%. Here it is. The beer snake code of conduct. For the safety of all fans, the beer snake will be permitted in sections 136 and 137 contingent on fans following the game day code of conduct. No cups may be thrown from within the section or from outside the section to join the snake. There were
Okay.
still people throwing.
Of course.
But whatever. That was a minor situation. All cups must be passed to be added, or you may provide your cups to a defender's representative who will bring the cups to the beer snake. They were literally having representatives from the team bring the cups from other parts of the stands over to the beer snake to add to it.
Yo, could you imagine that being your job?
Bro,
Like, what
that
are
would have
you?
to be the best job in the world. I'm sorry.
I'm a
It's just
beer
like,
snake.
Hey,
I'm a
let me
beer
get your
snake
cups.
coordinator.
Only empty cups can be added. Any throwing of
course.
cups or other projectile objects within the seated area or onto the field of play are grounds for rejection.
I
The
love
cups from
that.
the beer snake must be properly disposed of in a stadium receptacle at the conclusion of the game. And that was one of the big things they were talking about. It's like, it's okay. They're recycling.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're recycling.
Yo, hey. I mean, it's better than beach balls at a wrestling show.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know?
then, oh god, the beach balls. That took me a second to process. Like, oh yeah, when Cesaro had to stab it. And then of course they finish it off with a please drink responsibly.
Yeah, you have to throw that in there.
A little chef's kiss there. But
You
like
got to throw that in there.
that says, and I said this during week 1, we found something, we love it, we're doing it.
Yeah,
And
and honestly, like yo, for real, dude, like I love that. Like you found something unique, run with it.
exactly, and
Run.
it's
Like,
something that like gets everyone invested in the game as
yeah.
well. Which
And honestly, like it becomes part of like a tradition, right? Like it's like when Virginia Tech comes out to enter Sandman, or um, fuck, what is it? The college that all touches the rock before they come in.
fuck,
I'm drawing
why
a
can I
blank.
not think of that at the moment?
You know, or like it's one of those things.
Yeah, it's a tradition, and like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is that this is also a holdover from XFL 2.0,
Yep.
right before the before the pandemic, and they were like,
Correct.
this was something that Defenders fans started last season, years ago,
Which was 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
2-3 years ago, and it just it took everybody by storm. It was just like, hey, we like this, let's do this.
And I mean, look, it's already better traditions than the Washington Commanders have. So
Exactly. So I mean, we got something going on, right?
good on you, DC.
So let's start off with all this football news because we have
Yeah,
had
the word. I'm fumbling my words. It's my turn this week. Yeah, dude. Let's start
what's
with
going on
with
here?
football.
Role reversal. This is what happens when we push to a later start time.
Yeah.
So we've been listening to everybody's feedback, and we are going back to the covering all of football in the first half, covering all of wrestling in the second half. We're also going to start cutting down a lot of these like show reviews. If you really wanted to see them, there's plenty of other people we can give all sorts of recommendations. Cultaholic does great recommendations. Wrestle Talk does great does great reviews. I'm a
Simon
long
Miller
time
out of
watcher
What
of
Culture.
What Culture. I'm a long time Fightful Select subscriber. And honestly, I still think Fightful has some of the best post-show reviews in the game. So they go super in depth. That's probably why we go super in depth too.
Yeah. So
But yeah.
we're gonna go back to covering one half of the pigskin pinfalls, and then the second half of the feed will be the other.
So that
and
way we can
we're not
try and
it
cut
might-
down on the amount of jumping around we're doing.
Yeah. And it might not always be football then wrestling. We might do wrestling then football first. It just kind of depends on how we open. Like today, we opened up with the XFL, so we're just gonna stick with it and talk some football.
You want to just go ahead and talk XFL real quick? Get this knocked out of the way real quick?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
So another thing on the topic of the Defenders, I want to address something. We may have our first defensive star in the XFL, and he comes from DC.
Yep.
Michael Joseph has yet another pick six on the season already in week 3. This man already has 2 pick sixes. I think 3 picks total.
Yeah.
He's lighting up scoreboards on the defensive side, and that's one of the only like players really doing that right now. Like a lot of people are talking about how like some of these players are like you have some players that are really good, and some players that are really bad. Some players that are lighting up scoreboards, and some players that are selling off their playbooks to other teams.
Right. Yeah, and like that's, I was talking about it with you before we went live. What he is doing, let me get his, Michael Joseph. I almost called him Joseph Michael. What Michael Joseph is doing now in the XFL is what Trayvon Diggs did for the Cowboys last season. When
Great comparison.
you might be on defense, but your offense has to stay ready because he's a straight up ball hawk. And another thing, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know that you're a Defenders fan, so I'm sure you've paid a bit more attention to the team than I have. I don't think he's making some of the mistakes that Trayvon made where, yeah, you might get a pick, but you also might get burned for an 80-yard touchdown. I don't think Michael Joseph has given up any quote-unquote explosive or big plays yet. And like that, you and I said it again. Like, if he continues this, he will get a look by an NFL team when the XFL season is
Absolutely, I would not be surprised if by the start of the season in September, we don't see Michael Joseph at least on somebody's second team.
That's what I'm saying, because like corner is one of those positions where you need depth.
Oh God, yeah. You need depth in that position. You need to be able to cycle people out. You need to be able to like have your best defenders.
Yeah, and I mean even like maybe you have a team that's already set at corner, but you still put them at safety. Like the defensive backfield is not a position that you can ever have too much talent at.
It's
You know
one of
what I
those
mean?
things
Like,
where you benefit by having depth.
correct. You know, like if you have an all-star quarterback, you're good. You don't really
Mhm.
need somebody, second string that's going to be getting Pro Bowl votes if they were on the field. But on the defensive side of it, I mean, look at perfect example. Look at what Seattle did with the Legion of Boom.
Great example. So here's the way I look at it: is when you consider that you always have wide receivers cycling out. You're not going to have wide receivers that are playing every play. You're going to cycle them out with your second teamers pretty often, so you can keep your people fresh, and
Yep.
two, so that way you can change up the dynamic of things and try to throw off your defense a little. And throw off your
Yep.
defense a little bit. It only makes sense if you're swapping out your cornerbacks just as much. Not
Correct.
necessarily just to keep a man on man, but just to keep your people fresh.
Yeah, because what happens if you send Devonte Adams on a fucking 40-yard streak downfield, and then your offense recycles out Devonte, but you keep your same corner in there? He's gassed. He just ran a 40-yard sprint trying to keep up with Devonte.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so that's those moments where having depth at that position, because at the same time, if you don't have depth, what do? Do you bring in somebody who's not as good but has the freshest legs? Or do you bring in that good corner or keep the corner in who's gassed?
Exactly. Makes sense. And on that note, I want to actually transition to a news about your team. Since we
Brahmas.
brought up your Cowboys. And I thought this quote, I'm walking through the lobby while I was walking the
Are we
dog.
talking XFL still? I got excited for the Brahmas.
No.
Hey, look.
I actually didn't put anything. You want to cover the Brahmas real quick? Because I forgot to write anything down about them and the Roughnecks.
I think the Roughnecks are the best. I think the Roughnecks are the best team in the league.
I think it's them or DC, and I've got that Week 5 game circled now. Or is Week 5 or Week 6? It's a Monday night game, actually. I
Is
was
it really?
thinking about getting tickets, but I was just like, it's a Monday night game. I don't know how I feel about that.
I'll get them for cheap.
I mean, and it's the only time we're playing the Roughnecks this season, too.
And you could sit in the beer snake section.
I could.
Just think about it.
on a Monday night.
Yeah.
Do I really want to go that more out?
We've gone out on Mondays before.
Oh, of course, but that's not the point.
But no, I didn't. The Brahmas lost. They lost to, in my opinion, the best team in the league. It is what it is.
It is. And then also, while we're talking about the XFL still, just go ahead and I made a note about it. But quarterback Quentin Dormady of the Orlando Guardians initially was banned, was like suspended for selling playbooks to other players and like other teams. And now they were like, no, we're gonna reinstate him, and then put him into a full investigation and all this kind of stuff. Can the Guardians do anything right?
Clearly not. But also, we can't rip him up too much for the simple fact that they're a new league. People are going to try and get away with stuff until they start cracking down on things that they didn't even have to think of when they were creating the league. Because if you go back and you look at, when the NFL started, like, there was a lot of that shit too. There was a lot of, gambling. I mean, you can go back to Major League Baseball with, the White Sox. I think it was like the 1919 White Sox or some shit. Some old school team, all their players were gambling. And, like, when you have a league that's in its infancy, you're going to have people that are going to try and push the button and push the envelope. I guarantee you when The Rock bought XFL and decided to bring it back, he was not thinking like, oh my God, somebody's going to try and sell their playbook. He was thinking these people are going to be grateful they're getting another chance to play the sport that they love. And there are some people out there that are doing that. You got your Ben DiNucci's, your Josh Gordons, like these guys that like we watched in the league didn't make it for one reason or the other. Or AJ McCarron.
Real quick also, shout out to DiNucci and Josh Gordon getting their first win of the season.
Yep, and DiNucci leading the league in passing yards, if I'm not mistaken.
I heard that stat too, and I was just like, oh my God, let's go DiNucci. He's also tied for the most touchdowns in the league right now.
Yeah.
And, I mean, granted,
but, you look at
going
AJ
up against
McCarron,
them 0-3 Vipers, but
yeah. Well, that field is garbage. We talked about that last week. Go watch episode 5 for our coverage on that shitty field.
I know, right?
But no, like AJ McCarron, who he said the reason he went to the XFL was because he missed playing. So like. But then you have your Quentin Dormandys, who based off of this one incident, I would have to assume that football is not his passion. He is not as in love with the game as some of the other people are. And that's what leads to him trying to make an extra buck by selling his playbook.
Yeah, which is insane because there are so many other players that you're hearing about out there that are like you said, AJ McCarron came to the league because he wanted to play. He turned down big money to sit on a bench to take small money and play the game. There's other players that we've been hearing about that are like, no, we came to the XFL because our friends are like, hey, you're gonna have fun being here. Just come have fun.
Yeah, and like that's something that you can't teach. You as somebody who again, I played high school. I'm not gonna act like I was some fucking all-star or anything, but like I had a love for the game. My senior year, my coach told me, Chris, if you weren't a senior, we would cut you, and you probably won't play that much this year. And I remember going home and talking to my mom about it, and my mom was like, you don't let somebody else tell you whether you're going to play or you're not going to play. I ended up playing quite a bit that season, scored my only career touchdowns, 2 of them. Shout out to me. But like I had the love for the game. And then I remember when like after my last football game in my high school year, I sat in the middle of the field and I cried because like my dream is over. I knew I wasn't good enough to play in college. I knew I wasn't going to go to the next level and play. And like it was a massive hole because sports had been a part of my life from the age of 4 all the way up to now. I'm an 18-year-old kid. I'm an adult, but at 18, you're a fucking kid.
Yeah.
You can't teach that.
No,
you can't
absolutely
teach that.
can't.
Like, you either have that love for the game and you're playing because you want to, or the flip side, you're hella talented and you're just good. You don't need to go out and practice and be the best and all that. You just have that much raw skill, but your heart's not in it.
Speaking like having your heart in it, I think it was your boy Brandon Pernover at That's Good Sports that did a video on Jake Locker this week.
Yes.
Talking about how he just lost the love of the game. And that's why he had turned out to be such a bust.
I watched that in the airport yesterday.
There you go. Yeah, I watched that the other day, and I was just like, oh, I forgot all about Jake Locker, but that's a really good point.
Right?
But like, the Guardians' problems don't just end with Dormady. I mean, obviously, obviously.
The second half of your note points that out.
Yeah. They have yet to score any of their extra point attempts, which in the XFL, that's a lot of what they're centered around is their extra point attempts. And let's not forget that if you're going to bench Quentin Dormady, who's your next quarterback on that team?
Yeah. Who is
Paxton Lynch.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Yeah, so...
They're not in good shape right now.
They are not. They are not. I mean,
the Renegades eked out that win, barely. It was a 10-9 win.
Yeah, and the Guardians
Garbage.
are 0-3. Right up there with the Vipers. Or right down there with the Vipers, I should say.
Yep. Speaking of, I would argue that Orlando is worse than Vegas in this situation.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Also, because we mentioned the cheating side of it, a quick note. Congratulations, Calvin Ridley reinstated.
Yep. I don't think he should have been suspended for a season anyway, but
Go
watch episode 4, I think, to hear us talk about that.
I mean, again, like I said, I think the punishment fit. You don't, but it's okay. Either way, he sat out a year. He lost that paycheck for the year. He gets to come back now. And he's playing for the Jags, so we'll see how that goes.
Him, Evan Ingram, and Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, watch out for the Jags.
The Jags are going to be very dirty this year.
And my Nostradamus, the last time I said watch out for the Jags, they ended up in the AFC Championship game in 2017. So, just saying, keep an eye on the Jags.
That's a really good point.
Yep.
Really good point. Now, I wanted to go back because I started to talk about it. Then we were like, let's just finish up with the XFL news. So, we're talking about having to cycle out those players on defense, making sure you're keeping your defense fresh. And I thought this was an interesting quote as I'm walking through the lobby of my apartment building the other day. I'm walking the dog, and I see this giant headline that everyone's talking about. Mike McCarthy speaks on Kellen Moore that Kellen wants to light up the scoreboard, but he wants to run the ball more so he can rest the defense. He doesn't want to have the number one offense. Here's the direct quote. I don't want to have the number one offense. I want to be the number one team with a number of wins and a championship.
Sounds good.
It does sound good.
Sounds good.
In theory.
Yeah.
In theory.
First of all, Kellen Moore, a lot of my fellow Cowboys fans were very critical of his play calling. A lot of, I've talked about it on here with you. We had Kevontae Turpin, who made the Pro Bowl as a kick returner, and we're not using him on offense. A great way to light up your score scoreboard is to get your most dynamic player the ball, and we didn't do that. So I don't know if this is like a burial, to link our two forms of media together. I don't know if that's Mike McCarthy burying Kellen Moore, or if that's Mike McCarthy trying to say the right thing to look good to us fans.
Well, first off, and I'll say this: even when he was in Green Bay, I was never really that big a fan of Mike McCarthy. I think he's I think he's a very middling coach. I feel like especially
he won a lot of games because he had Aaron Rodgers, and now he's in Dallas, where we have a pretty decent team overall. But winning a lot of games is not the same as winning Super Bowls.
Yeah, and just the way that he phrased it and everything like that, it made me lose a little bit of faith in McCarthy. A little bit of faith in McCarthy that I still had.
Yeah.
I don't think McCarthy is the answer. McCarthy is not taking you guys to the Super Bowl. Y'all are trying to break that streak of no
Super Bowl appearances?
No Super Bowl appearances, no conference championship appearances, anything like that. Y'all gotta. I don't think Mike McCarthy's the answer. I'm sorry.
Neither do I. Neither do I.
And I said that from the moment he got hired. I agree. I agree. When you expound on the statement, he's basically saying, I've been in Kellen Moore's shoes before. I know what it feels like, and I'm trying to say, hey, no, this is me being the older and wiser person. And I can agree with that, but at the same time, you can't win those games without having a dynamic offense.
Correct.
And if I get that you want to run the ball more, especially when you have Zeke and Tony P. But again, this is where the play calling comes into it, and you have to make sure that there's still especially when you're going up against some of these other teams that are just you're in the same division as Philadelphia right now, who is lighting up scoreboards left and right. Yeah. You have to be able to stand up against that. Your defense,
and we have the talent. We make no mistake, we have the weapons to light up the scoreboard, but we also to give to defend McCarthy a little bit. We do have the ability to run the ball. We have a great offensive line. We have one great running back in Tony Pollard, and another running back who used to be great in Zeke. I think Zeke still has some left in the tank. I don't think he's washed.
I think he still has more to give too. I think Zeke's regression this year, to use that term lightly, was focused mostly on Tony Pollard's emergence. That's the word I was looking for there, and just the fact that play calling in general, you got to spread the ball around. You can't feed it to Zeke every play anymore because you have too many stars on that team that are trying to make their name.
Correct. I agree with that.
So
I completely agree with that.
I think because of that, especially you put Zeke into one of these teams where they have a little bit more flexibility and can have him putting in more of an effort without having to split time with TP. I think that he can really reestablish himself as one of those top running backs in the league. And at the same time, I feel also if say that Zeke leaves, then you have the opportunity again for Tony Pollard to increase his numbers even more.
Correct. But sticking with the Cowboys, we did use our franchise tag on Tony Pollard. So I think we're getting
a great week. Obviously, today was the deadline for the franchise tag, so we've got a lot of franchise tag news.
About 2 hours ago was the deadline for franchise tags. I believe it was 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm sorry, 4 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, 4 p.m. Eastern.
But yeah, Dallas used their franchise tag on Tony Pollard, so we're going to get at least one more season of the of that 1-2 punch in the backfield. And look, I like it, man. I don't hate it because you got Zeke, who's the pound the rock out, and Tony Pollard, who he can run you over, but he's a bit more flashy in style. I think it's a solid complementary backfield that we have there, and I'm happy that we got to keep both of them for at least one more season. Check back in with me in about 10 months, and I'll see how I feel about Zeke and Tony Pollard there. I think this could be the season where Zeke is no longer the starter. He might start the season. He might, I think he's still our week 1 starter. But when we get into the December, January months of the season, I would not be shocked to see Tony Pollard getting the start.
I think it's a very solid call. I would not be surprised, especially with the skyrocketing upward trajectory that Pollard has had in the past 2 years alone. I think that it's very, very likely that we see Tony Pollard being the starter outright.
Yeah.
Watch me sneak him out, find a way to trade for him in the league, in the fantasy league again.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, you gotta. Good luck.
Yeah.
We're just gonna stick with franchise tags.
I was also going to make this note that you left here as well. Adam Schefter reporting that Zeke is a prime cut candidate and that his days in Dallas are numbered.
Yeah.
So even Shefty's thinking that's the real thing.
I heard that Zeke was willing to restructure his deal to take less money.
At a certain point in time, though, you're going to start... It's like the love of the game that we're talking about. You're only going to keep taking away so much money. Like, you can only restructure that money so much before he starts thinking, man, I really want more time on that field again.
Yeah.
I want time to return to form.
Also, you got to take an honest look at yourself and realize that 2023 Zeke is not going to be 2016 Zeke.
Absolutely.
And, but I also firmly believe that Zeke loves Dallas. I firmly believe that he's happy in Dallas and wants to remain a Cowboy. But I think I think we get one more season of the two of them together. I don't think I'm able to take my bias away from this. I love Zeke. I was thrilled when we drafted him. I remember exactly where I was during that draft. I remember exactly how I felt when we drafted him. And we also drafted Jalen Smith in that draft, who I thought was going to be the next best linebacker in the world.
We saw how that went.
Happy. Yeah, I have 2 Jalen Smith jerseys. One's autographed, and then I was like, well, I can't wear an autographed one. Got to go buy another. And now he plays for the Giants. Damn it. But to be honest with you, dude, if I'm going to sit here and say Zeke needs to take a look at himself, I got to take a look at myself. I want to keep Zeke. Maybe he is a prime candidate. Maybe that is something that Dallas will do. But I'm too far in the Cowboy trenches to comment on this unbiased, to be completely honest with you.
I think that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
I want him. I would love to keep. Like I just said, man, I think that dynamic 1-2 back of him and Tony Pollard is great.
Mm-hmm. They're an amazing 1-2 smash. Reminds me so much of the smash and dash years in Carolina with D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart.
Yep.
You have your one power back and your one speed back, and it just you have a tempo change anytime you need it. And
I mean, we can take it back even farther with that. The Titans, when they had Lendale White and CJ2K.
Oh, that's another great call. Yeah.
I think they were literally called Smash and Dash.
Yeah, but again, we see today in the league now where they're really starting to value more of player health and letting them cycle out more. And I think that we're going to start seeing a lot more of these teams adopting that 2 running back approach, especially when you realize how many different talented running backs there are in the league going around right now. Yep. It's going to get to that point where every team's going to start needing 2 solid running backs.
I agree.
So let's go ahead and talk about all these franchise tags.
Whoa! Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
The Buffalo Bills are in heavy talks to potentially send wide receiver Stephon Diggs to the Dallas Cowboys once free agency begins.
Reuniting Stephon and Trayvon?
Huh?
Uniting Stephon and Trayvon?
They want to play together. They've both said it.
Oh, I know. I like it. I'm not going to lie. I like it.
I just got chills. CeeDee Lamb and Stephon Diggs on the same team, boy. What?
Sheesh.
I don't know how credible Dr. Don Keedick is, but that's the breaking news that I got from... It's also Twitter. Take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah. When it comes to Twitter, you got to take things with a grain of salt. I learned that lesson very roughly this week when it comes to the wrestling side of the house, and we'll get to that when we cover that. You really got to vet your sources.
Okay.
And that's something that, working in public affairs and whatnot, I've known that for years. I never thought it would be so prevalent as it has been, especially in today's day and age in Twitter, where you have to really suss people out.
Yeah.
Let's talk about all these franchise tags that we got going around, because again, we had a lot of news going through. When we're typing up our notes in this week, we had a lot of so and so team is expected to use the franchise tag on so and so. Let's wait for more news. And then today, all of those kept changing to, nope, the tags have been used. Tags have been used. Tags have been used.
I think today is a good. I think I'm glad it worked out the way it did, and we're recording a little later than we normally do because we're able to report on all the tags.
Not only that, but otherwise we would be doing the whole every 5 seconds we got breaking news again thing.
Yeah.
That got really old really quick. So let's talk about all these franchise tags that go around. Raiders use theirs on Joshua Jacobs. We saw that coming.
Love it.
We love it.
Love it.
We have, as you mentioned, Evan Ingram gets the tag from Jacksonville.
Yep.
Let's see. Tony Pollard got his. The Chiefs not franchise tagging Orlando Brown again.
Orlando Brown, that's interesting because he was instrumental in their offensive line success last year.
Absolutely. Him and linebacker Frank Clark both expected to leave the Chiefs. Major cap hits. Major, like, that's a lot of money that's going to be freed up. But again, this is your reigning champs.
Correct.
Which they've got 2-3 titles now in 5 years. I think they can afford to. Yeah, they can afford to lose a couple people.
Yeah, well, that also just goes to show you how hard it is to repeat as champions because no matter what, people are going to leave. Money talks, so it's not that surprising.
Yep.
In today's day and age, very rarely do you see a player have his entire career with one team. Yeah.
And then to tie together contract talks and franchise tag talks here, to kind of like, and this will kind of segue into all the big quarterback carousel. The dominoes really starting to fall into place.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones was expected to get tagged.
Yes.
And then, what was it, today or yesterday? They finalized, no, I think it was this morning. They finalized a 4-year, $160 million deal with $35 million in incentives. And that made room for Saquon to get tagged.
Which, if you're a Giants fan, you got to be happy about that because there was a real possibility that you were going to lose one of them, and now you get to keep both.
I mean, look at Danny Dimes. We were saying that we were expecting him to, again, like we were looking in that 35 range for his contracts. Right. Him getting 40 is worth it. So I was reading an article before we went live, and they were actually explaining it really well. This was like their GM made it his primary goal this year to keep both of them and do whatever it took, and he succeeded. Success. He did succeed today. A lot of it really came down to, and the way they put it was him refusing to take the 5th-year option on Daniel Jones last year was forcing Daniel Jones into a prove-it year. And
which he did great.
He proved it. So, in all reality, him getting more than we were expecting, getting that $40 million, congratulations, you earned it.
What does that mean for Jalen Hurts?
Ooh.
Can't have Danny Dimes making more than Jalen Hurts.
But you also can't afford to get rid of Jalen Hurts in this division now.
Correct. If I'm the Eagles, I'm so pissed off that the Giants just did that. It's like that just drove up Jalen Hurts' price. Because Jalen Hurts is literally, if I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm gonna walk into that front office and be like, don't even talk to me if it's less than Daniel fucking Jones.
Mm-hmm. And
no disrespect to Danny Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts is the better quarterback. I think we can both agree on that.
Oh, absolutely. He made his name.
So yeah, I'm curious to see what that is. But credit to, like I said, if you're a Giants fan, you got to be thrilled. You keep your quarterback, you keep your running back. Beautiful
absolutely, I fully agree.
This takes us back to the last frame because we talked about Daron Payne. We didn't forget about him. We talked about him last week.
Mm-hmm.
This leads us to the franchise tag that we knew was coming. We can't believe it came, though, because it still doesn't make any fucking sense. The Ravens placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, making him due to make $32.4 million this upcoming season.
So, let's talk about this one because, again, this is part of the big quarterback carousel and the dominoes falling into place. Now, Danny Dimes got his contract. Also to cover, Derek Carr signs with the Saints. Had been talked for quite a bit, and now it's finalized. And he got his payday. What's he making? Like 30? What is it? 4 years, $150 million with $100 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be looking at $37 a year.
Yep.
And for Derek Carr, I can see that. Especially if you see that Danny Dimes is getting 40 now, I can see Derek Carr at 37. But again, everyone's price tags are going up now.
So the one thing that I think it's crucial to make note of is that it's the non-exclusive franchise tag,
He can still
which
leave.
means that he can still talk to not only can he still work out a deal with the Ravens, but he can talk to other teams.
Mm-hmm.
He can negotiate up until I believe the date is July 17th.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's but again, like we reported on a few weeks ago, we said that they were $100 million off on the differences of what Lamar thought he was worth and what the Ravens thought he was worth.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand Baltimore. It doesn't make sense to me. My buddy Nino, shout out to Nino, massive Ravens fan. Me and him have texted about it back and forth. And literally, I texted him and I said, "What's going on?" And all he said back to me was, "Ravens are stupid."
That's really the best way you can put it. And I think it's interesting that, again, because this is the quarterback carousel, there's a lot of moves being made. Derek Carr's to the Saints now. You've got Danny Dimes re-signing. You got
Geno Smith getting his contract extension.
Geno Smith getting $35 million a year.
Yep.
Pay the man. Pay the man after the year he had.
Yep.
Let's go.
3-year, $105 million extension, and I think it's well deserved.
Absolutely. He had a career renaissance this year. Under that, when, let's be real, Seattle was written off at the beginning of the season, and then everyone by the end of the season, everyone was like, "Let's go, Geno.
Yeah,
let's go."
Yeah. So yeah, like and then before we move on to Aaron Rodgers and his news that you typed up, I'll let you take that one. I just want to touch that. Good for the Saints for signing Derek Carr. My buddy Kyle, I've talked about him a couple times on the show. He's a massive Saints fan, and he's not exactly thrilled about it. But I reminded him that at least now one team in the NFC South has their quarterback.
I think right now the only team in the NFC South that has their quarterback.
We don't know who's going to start in Carolina. We don't know who's going to start in Tampa. We don't know who's going to start in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's probably going to get rid. I think safe to assume that. Carolina's probably going to.
So
never mind.
Yeah, no. So it's funny you mentioned that because before we went live, I actually saw somebody speculating that because it's a non-exclusive franchise tag, Carolina could really be in the mix for Lamar.
Do you guys have money?
Oh, of course we do. We have a lot of cap space available right now. And we have, I think it's Tepper is the second richest owner in the league.
My issue with that is a lot of the things that we give Baltimore shit for is not giving Lamar weapons.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't really have that many weapons in Carolina either.
Ironically enough, another trade talk that's being thrown around as well. Hold that thought. No, we got a sub coming in.
I think that they should make the football a timed explosive. I think that could solve a lot of the problems in the sport.
God damn it, Vaughn. I mean, that's one way to do it. I don't know if you heard that one, but he's saying make it a time explosive. Whatever. Anyways, what's up, Vaughn? How you doing? On that note, though, I need to remember to turn off alerts while we're recording, though. I need to remember to start doing that.
I said the Panthers don't have weapons, and you said there's another trade rumor.
Yeah, another trade rumor that's going around. Panthers looking at getting a trade for Derrick Henry.
I don't hate that. Doesn't help Lamar that much.
No,
if he goes to
but
Carolina.
Again, also, if we get, and this is what I was talking about a couple weeks ago, if we take care of all these issues in free agency, then think about what all we can do with all that draft capital we have this year.
True, and also you got to figure if you got a running back like Derrick Henry, Lamar ain't gonna have to run the ball as much.
Nope, you can keep him healthy
because Derrick Henry will eat those hits all day long.
Now, imagine this backfield: Lamar under center, Derrick Henry and Deontay Foreman splitting runs. I know that
he wouldn't split.
You'd want to keep that's actually no, that's a good point. If we get Derrick Henry, that's a good opportunity for Deontay to leave, which has also been discussed.
Mm-hmm.
Deontay's looking for a bigger payday.
Oh, well, we'll keep an eye on that. Again, Baltimore, just fucking pay Lamar.
Absolutely.
Just pay Lamar. But we
And
touched on Aaron Rodgers, and that was your note, so I'll let you take it.
yeah, literally right as we were going live, like 4:45, the message comes through. Aaron Rodgers gets permission to seek a trade with the Jets, which is again one of the moves that was being really thought about, especially when the Jets hired Todd Monken. And it's just like
He's following in Papa Favre's footsteps.
100% he is. But it's just, I mean, that is ironic in itself. It's completely like coincidental. But
There is.
at the same time, it's like it's still one of those situations where it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Jets have a solid defense. You got Sauce Gardner back there. You got Brees Hall.
The Jets again last year we were talking about, like, they were the biggest winners in the draft.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, they had both the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the year.
Don't see that happen often.
Yeah, in Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. That's outrageous, and well, not outrageous, but like that's impressive
Yeah, it is.
in its own right.
For you to be able to hit, because the draft is not an exact science. We've talked about that before, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again as we get closer to April. But also, one thing of note that I saw was you said right around 4:45. That was when I was leaving the restaurant that I was at, and as I was walking out, I saw that the Jets were already on a plane to California to go see Aaron Rodgers.
Jesus.
So we'll see. If anything, well, next week if we go back to our regular time, I'll make sure I have Pat McAfee's show in the background because
So
they have
our
Aaron Rodgers
breaking news every
today.
5 minutes again.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see,
Speaking of releases and seeking trades, the Rams giving Allen Robinson permission to seek a trade, willing to pay their fair share of his salary next year as well. Now, last week we were talking about how the Rams, because they dug themselves into such a hole to get that championship, they're
Fuck
really
them picks.
What's that?
Fuck them picks.
Right? They were like they basically like they went all in order to get to get that ring.
They got the ring. It worked.
They got the ring. Now it's whatever. So them offering to pay Allen Robinson's share to let him go find a trade, I'm not surprised. It's helping them cut some cap space.
Yep.
But the Rams can't really afford to lose any of their weapons right now. And Allen Robinson arguably is one of their better weapons.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the Rams are going in full
actually-
tank mode now.
Actually, I don't know, man. Didn't Allen Robinson only have like one touchdown last year?
Still more than almost half his team. Think about the team he was on.
They were not a good team.
Think about the quarterbacks he had throwing to him until Baker showed up and had his career resurgence at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Okay.
All right. Let's see. What are some other news that we haven't covered yet? Congratulations to Darren Waller getting married to Kelsey Plum
Yep, love that.
over the weekend. Congratulations to them. Las Vegas
that.
royalty marries Las Vegas royalty.
Got a couple releases here.
Yep.
The Vikings released linebacker Eric Kendricks. He was an All-Pro in 2019. Titans released linebacker Bud Dupree. We've covered that. We talked about Calvin Ridley getting reinstated.
Let's go back up to the top. The Eagles submitting a proposal to allow their players to wear the number 0 on their uniforms.
Yeah, I don't really care.
I don't really care either.
I don't
Although
really
it
care.
would be interesting to see a lot of players playing in the number 0 now.
If anything, man, if you're gonna do that, let somebody wear X like Goldberg in Longest Yard.
He hate me.
Yeah. Oh.
How much longer
but
until
no,
we start getting custom name tapes? Didn't that one ex-football player beat his wife or something recently? Yes, that is something we need to talk about as well.
What?
Alvin Kamara.
Oh, it wasn't his wife, wasn't
It wasn't his wife, but he did still get into that altercation, and it's not looking good for Kamara.
He pled not guilty. That's in our notes.
Hey, he did plead not guilty, but there's also a lot of people that are saying, like, looking at all the like evidence and everything, Kamara's not getting out of this one.
Yeah, well, to be completely fair, we knew last year that he was more than likely going to play this season and get suspended in 2023. So,
We saw it
no
coming.
surprise there. Um, it's unfortunate. You know, I remember when Ray Rice destroyed his career, rightfully so. I'm not going to stand here and advocate for people to beat up other people, especially an NFL athlete attacking a woman. I will never condone that in any circumstance. Um, it just, you know, these players have their whole lives in front of them, and
Everyone always argues about why are we paying all these athletes so much money. It's it's mostly one of those situations where, like, again, like, you live with the spotlight on you at all times. That's what you're getting paid for. It's not the fact that you're good at throwing a catching a ball or whatever. It's because you're living under a spotlight.
yep,
And the tiniest little things that, like, if it was like you or me got into a brawl outside of a club, no one would
Nothing
bat an
happens.
eye. Alvin
Nothing
Kamara gets into a brawl outside of a club. That's your career.
yeah, yeah. Ray Rice never came back to the league.
I don't know a lot of football. I don't know a lot about football, but I do know that this kind of stuff is kind of a crisis in the NFL, and I only know this thanks to drunk Ben Affleck. That's actually a really good shout. Drunk Ben Affleck always talking off out of pocket on shit.
That's fair.
That's very fair. I give you credit for that one, Vaughn. Let's see.
Moving on.
Moving on, speaking of that as well, Jalen Carter being charged with racing and reckless driving in connection with a fatal car crash.
Yeah, that's not good.
Not looking good as well.
However, I'll bet you anything it doesn't really hurt his draft stock that much.
Nope. He still played well
So,
good.
so he's kind of the opposite of Alvin Kamara, right? Like he hasn't made a name. Like yeah, he was a great college player. He won, you know, whatever. But he has not made a name for himself in the aspect that Alvin Kamara has yet. And you can chalk it up as he's a young kid who made a dumb decision.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if, you know, Henry Ruggs goes out and he's the one who fatally kills a woman because he's drunk driving 117 miles an hour, that's different. Also, Jalen Carter, to set it straight, did not kill someone.
No, he was just
However,
involved in it.
correct.
And the other thing about that too is like he's only being charged with a misdemeanor.
Yep.
Like it's not like he's going away for a long time or anything. He was just involved in the racing that ended in someone wrecking their car and dying. It's unfortunate, but that's not something you can directly pin on Jalen Carter.
Correct. According to Benjamin Albright, the Chiefs are the top landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins.
I don't know how I feel about that one. Also, you're
Neither-
lagging behind again, and it's kind of funny.
Neither do I. Oh, I can't do anything about that in the hotel Wi-Fi.
Turn your camera off and turn it back on again. See if that helps.
Jokes.
What's up, Discord? Yeah, that fixed it a little bit.
All right. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Chiefs are already good. Stop adding better players. Give somebody else a chance.
Watch DeAndre not make any money. Well, he'll make money, correction, but like he won't light scoreboards up. Not anymore, at least.
I still think he has the best hands in the league.
We send our condolences to the family of Jerry Richardson, longtime the founder of the Carolina Panthers. Passes away at the age of 86.
He did sell the team under some not great circumstances.
Yeah,
There was some.
I was not the biggest fan of Jerry Richardson. However, I do recognize his contributions to the team.
Yeah, to your team.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
to my
you know.
team. So naturally, I'm gonna take a little bit of a love on that one. Going back to some of this news, I know we don't like to bring up associated personnel, but at the same time, when that associated
will for this
personnel
one.
is Jackson Mahomes, I'm gonna let you take this one.
So Jackson Mahomes is being investigated for two different assaults at a restaurant. One involves shoving a 19-year-old server, and the other is forcibly kissing the owner. There's video footage of him forcing a kiss on owner Aspen Vaughn, age 40, and it's been making the rounds on social media. I saw the video.
Yeah?
It's not a good look. It's not a good look. So basically she's standing there, Jackson Mahomes is behind her, and he like grabs her face and like turns her head towards him and like she forces a kiss, and you can see her try to like push him off, and then like she like steps away, and then he goes in for a second one, and then I turned the video off after that because I don't want to give that idiot any more fucking spotlight. But
yeah, we're doing it by talking about him, but at the same time we're talking about him because he's a fucking idiot.
Correct. You know, the fucking the
distraction that he is.
The Sean Taylor incident with him dancing on like bro, shut the fuck up, get the fuck out, go away. You notice we didn't get much from Patrick Mahomes' wife this season. I think he had a conversation with her and Jackson about like, yo, this is my fucking career and like y'all need to chill the fuck out.
I'm pretty sure his wife was also busy like giving birth to their next child, so that had a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, Jackson Mahomes is an idiot.
That's all we're saying on it. That's really all we have to say on that.
Let's talk about the tweet, and then we'll end with the report cards.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Let's go into this tweet, or do you want to end on the tweet as the funny part?
No, well, let's end on the report cards.
All right, yeah. Let's go ahead and cover this. So, this next one can't be described in words other than directly quoting the tweet.
And I brought it up in my intro.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to read it or me?
You got it.
Okay. I'll just go ahead and read this real quick because it just I read this and I laughed so hard.
I messaged
according
you
to sources.
I thought it was the same thing.
Yeah, because it's just like you weren't able to get the tweet to pop up, and I was just like, nope, that's exactly what it is. It's like, cool, that's what I was getting ready to talk about too. So, according to sources, a legitimate concern NFL teams have with Kentucky quarterback Will Levis is his quote-unquote deathly fear of milk. I've been told he screams in terror at even the sight of milk, let alone the taste. It impedes his daily tasks. I'm worried how he'll fit in an NFL program. You can't make this shit up.
You really can't.
You
can't.
Like,
I know there's no such thing as hazing anymore, but there is character
haze yourself.
building.
Haze yourself. As we used to say in the military, haze yourself, bitch.
But there is character building, which is what we called it when I was playing college sports. And, like, can you imagine some of these vets that are going to just fucking, like, tie them to a goalpost and then, like, surround them with, like, glasses of milk or some shit? Like,
they're going to put them in a ring of, like, milk bottles and be like, how you going to get out? How you going to get out?
And, like, the fact, like, it impedes his day-to-day life, like, that's fucking...
I'm sorry. I don't know about you. I am not encountering milk that often in my day-to-day.
Me either, and like I like milk. I'm a milk drinker. Like
I am not a milk drinker, so
I am. But at the same time, like if I'm not going to grab myself a glass of milk, I can't tell you how many times I encounter it. And I don't see how milk can impede your day-to-day life. You know what I mean? Like
that is the wildest thing I've ever.
And again, we said it earlier. It's on Twitter. You got to take everything with a grain of salt, but. It's fucking hilarious. We weren't gonna not
funny.
talk about it.
Mance hates boobies.
But hopefully Will Levis can overcome this fear and find his way into an NFL team and not have to worry about. Yo, can you imagine like what the opposing fans are gonna like chant and like signs and stuff? Like, games
There's gonna be signs in the stand of just pictures of milk.
Got milk and shit. Like, oh my god, it's
he's gonna get hazed so bad in his rookie year, I swear.
Yeah. It's either gonna force him out of the league or he's gonna overcome his fear. One of the two things is gonna happen.
The milk spell shot from SpongeBob.
Yeah. Moving on to our final NFL news.
So let's cover our last bit of NFL news here. So the NFL Players Association, they released report cards on all the teams.
Yeah.
And this was I don't know. Have you ever seen them do this before?
No, not to my knowledge.
Yeah, neither have I. And this I think I think they actually brought in the fact that it was like it was a new thing. Um, and so they pulled 1,300 players, which is roughly about half of each team, if not more. 1,300 divided by 32. I can't do that quick math in my head right now, but it's just below like every player on the team, on every team. So it's a solid like poll, and they wanted to like they analyzed all the teams on stuff like family care, nutrition, weight rooms, training staff, all that kind of stuff.
Travel.
No surprise to anyone, Washington Commanders come in last.
No surprise.
No surprise to
None.
anyone. Mildly surprising, beyond that, next worst was the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
one
but
actually
that's,
shocked. Oh, that one, we heard a lot of like stuff coming out of Arizona's camp last year about how like mismanaged and everything was, but they received so many Fs across the board. I think they received more Fs overall. I think the Commanders only like succeeded because like were only better because they only had like the one A for their strength staff and everything else was low. But the Cardinals get Fs almost all the way across the board. Family treatment.
charging players to use the weight room during the off season, making making them pay for team meals and stuff. Like that's just asinine.
Fs all the way around. They were tied for last in family treatment, tied for last in food service and nutrition, tied for last in the training room, 31st in the locker room, dead last in the weight room. It's not a good look. The best, they got tied for 17th with an A on the strength coaches, basically saying that 16 other teams had an A plus in that category.
Yep.
So the fact that your highest grade was still only 17th, not a good look. They be like, you have to pay to use our gym. Enjoy your concussion. Damn, Vaude. Damn. Savage. Let me see. Is there a way to sort by all? I'm trying to see. Like, there was a way where like you could. They had it all broken down. Like
Yeah.
they had a graphic that was made. Hang on. NFL report cards 2023 graphic. Let me see if I can find it. But like it gave like a solid breakdown. Here it is. A solid breakdown of all the teams. The Vikings getting A's across the board, getting number one.
Yeah.
That actually doesn't surprise me. I've heard nothing but good things out of the Minnesota camp.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me either, especially because when you play in Minnesota and it's that cold, your inside facilities are going to have to be state of the art.
Although
yeah.
you say that, guess who came in number 2?
Miami.
Yeah. They had A's across the board with the exception of treatment of families got a C+. Then the Raiders at 3, also not completely a surprise because I remember reading that like it's not that big a surprise when you consider they just built everything.
I was gonna say they're brand new to Vegas.
Yeah, everything's brand new.
Raiders. Yeah, it's not the LA Raiders or the Oakland Raiders. It's the Vegas Raiders.
Yeah. Rounding out the top 5, Texans and then the Cowboys.
Texans was a surprise to me.
Really?
Only because they're not a good team. Like I guess if you really think about it, it's not that much of a surprise. But like you don't associate like a bad team having like good stuff.
I mean, it's one of those things where they're just really in the rebuilding state of their team right now.
Yeah.
But other than that, I can see how like team culture is still like a big thing. We've been seeing a lot about like team culture really playing a factor into things. That's what brought D'Amico Ryans back to be a head coach there. Like, there's definitely something to be said about the Texans' culture that they can rank so high. Panthers came in 12th, just to throw that out there. The other big surprise that that blew me away though was
Number 29.
Number 29, our reigning champs, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Shocking.
Very
Absolutely
shocking. Blew me away when I saw that. And to put some of these things into perspective. I'll just go ahead and click on them so I can get like the breakdowns on some of the things that they said. They are one of 11 teams that don't offer daycare.
What?
Only 50% of players say there's enough room in the cafeteria for everyone. Let's see. They have the 4th worst rankings in the teams feeling they have enough athletic training coordinators and physical trainers.
Interesting. Especially with how riddled of injuries they were.
And then when it comes to their league lowest rating in training staff, with a D-,
Also,
with the lowest rating in concerning qualitative responses, we learned that players' key concerns are with head trainer Rick Burkholder, not the rest of the staff, which is generally well liked. Player respondents express beliefs, opinions that they feel discouraged from reporting their injuries. They do not feel they get the level of personal care that they should, and they fear retribution for speaking up for better care.
that's so interesting.
They also say that there's 73% of their players feel like they have enough personal space. Their lockers are old and in need of renovation. Many players complain they want to have a chair at their locker instead of a stool so they can lean back when sitting. I can see that.
Yeah, that's also kind of a minute complaint.
One of team travel tied for 28th. One of 6 teams that still makes young players have roommates. They very rarely give first class seats to their staff, to their players.
I like the roommate thing. That's team building.
K-Dot, you have thoughts on the Lamar drama? Oh, we already covered that one pretty deeply. I think that, just to give that one a quick one-over, real quick, people think the owners are colluding. I hadn't considered that. Collusion to keep Lamar down?
Collusion!
Collusion!
Shout out the league.
Shout out the league. Imagine being a major player in literally the biggest television industry in the United States and not being able to fly first class.
There's only so many first class seats though. That's, again, I feel like that's a ticky-tack fucking complaint.
Yeah. Lamar's a pawn in the owner versus in the Players Association. I could see that, actually. I think it's a really good point. No, I think that's a very fair argument, because if he's a pawn, like, if he's being used as a pawn by all these people, because you got to think, Lamar wanted guaranteed money like Deshaun got, and everyone balked on Deshaun's contract. So if this is a matter of the players trying to get theirs, and then the owner's like, nah, we're not trying to feed that narrative. And when we just got finished talking about how all the different quarterbacks right now are, like, everyone, that average price tag for a quarterback is steadily going up. Danny Dimes getting his 40 mil. Derek Carr getting his 35, or Geno getting his 35 mil. Derek Carr getting his 37 and a half. It's to give that precedent of a fully guaranteed contract. And I know we discussed that, I think it was last week or the week before. The idea of giving him guaranteed money the same way Deshaun got. When we see what Deshaun has done so far, which we all have our feelings on Deshaun. We don't need to touch on those any further than we need to. But Lamar, like, if Lamar sets that precedent and gets the fully guaranteed, where does all the other teams go after that?
So, 2 things. One, Lamar is a former fucking NFL MVP. MVP of the league.
True.
He has proven he can play in the league. Deshaun has not. Number 2, you know why Deshaun got that guaranteed money? Because he has an agent representing him. Lamar is representing himself.
That's also a really good point.
Lamar does not have an agent to talk to these teams the way, like, that is what an agent's fucking job is.
And that was one of the biggest criticisms, is why is Lamar doing this without an agent?
Right. So those are 2 big factors that people are overlooking. In the Deshaun versus Lamar argument, Lamar's proven himself. He's an MVP of the fucking league. And 2, Deshaun, despite his personal issues, he had an agent whose his agent's sole job was to go out there and get Deshaun money. Lamar does not have that person in his camp. He is doing it on his own. And I think that is hindering him. I also think the Ravens are stupid.
Agreed. We've already said that several times already. The Ravens are fucking stupid.
But I think Lamar representing himself is hurting him more than it's helping him.
So the last note that we'll put on it real quick, this was one of the things that I mentioned, I believe, the last week or the week before too, is when you have Deshaun with his guaranteed contract and performing as poorly as he is, you can take that and consider it just poor decision making on the Browns' part, and just it being a outlier in the cases.
Correct.
With Lamar being a former MVP, with him having the stats that he does, with him having the talent that he does, and with how badly wanted he is in this league, if you give him the guaranteed money, then you're setting the precedent. You can look at right now. You can look at Deshaun as a mistake. If you do that for Lamar, it's not a mistake.
What is it? Once a fluke, twice a trend.
Something like that. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
Obviously, here at Pigskin and Pinfalls, we will continue to follow the Lamar and all other NFL news.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that about combine wrapped up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like putting a lot of stock into the combine because a lot of the shit that they do doesn't really translate on the field. Like, you're never going to see a player do a broad jump. You're never going to see a player really, truly do a real vertical jump. Yeah, you might go up for a jump ball, but it's not a standstill vertical. Very rarely do you see a player run in a straight line for 40 yards. So, like, I don't like to put a lot of stock in the combine. Yes, it happened. It's over and done with. I think in the next coming weeks, Rich and I will start to talk about our draft shit and stuff like that. But I think that about covers the NFL side of things for this week.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break real quick. I need to go refill my water. We're just going to go to a quick AFK break, and then when we come back, we're going to start covering all the wrestling side of the house. Holy shit, also a packed week. We'll get into that here shortly. And then when we get back, we'll take care of that, and then we'll move on from there. Perfect. We will be back. What if I told you that we've been muted this entire time?
No. Well, then how has Vaughn and them been...
He literally, Vaughn just messaged. He's like, is y'all's audio good?
How has he been commenting on what we've been talking about?
I never unmuted us when we came out of break, so everything we've talked about on wrestling so far is dead in the water.
Oh. Okay.
Oops.
What do we do?
Hey, we talked about all things AEW. We'll put it in the comments. I don't know. All right, quick. We'll just start back from the top. Quick run through. I know we missed a lot of the discussion on that. Play the sad SpongeBob trombone. Hang on. Yeah. Wait, no, we have a sound for this. We do have a sound for this. We do have that.
So, quick overview of Revolution, I guess?
Yeah, so let's start back over with Revolution notes. Whoops.
Oh, well.
Well, all right. So we just have to we can edit it all out in post. So let's come back to all that and just be like, hey guys, we've just been talking for the past 20 minutes with no audio. All right. Quick overview. Again, we're gonna oh god, we just lost so much discussion.
It's okay.
It's whatever. So I won the picks, obviously. House of Black win the 6-man. Hater retains. Starks gets a clean win over Jericho. Wardlow beats Joe. I still think he's getting fed to Hobbs on Wednesday night. Mox bleeds way too quickly.
Yep.
Hangman hung him.
Yeah, we'll touch on that real quick. That was Mox's first loss via submission since 2013. And John Moxley bleeds quicker than Roman Reigns' ring entrances.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything we just talked about. And that's the easiest way to sum up what we were just saying. And then the only other things that we really were talking about... Oh, yeah, we have to rediscuss now everything about Christian Cage. So, to go back into this, they announced it after we made picks, but we have Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage in a final burial match, their idea of a casket match. That casket drops super fast.
Loved it. Thought it was a really unique way to change up a relatively old stipulation.
So, and then we mentioned, where does Christian Cage go from here? And the direct quote that I have that you quoted me on before we realized we were muted still. What's really left for him to do out in AEW outside of getting lost in the shuffle? And really,
I said nothing.
Yeah, there really isn't. And again, we really want. He signed a multi-year deal in 2021. Multi-year could mean 2 years. And if that's the case, and let's not forget that he just spent several months on the shelf, and obviously, like, that means they're gonna tack that time onto his contract, just like they did with Kenny Omega. But it's a matter of, like, where do they go from here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, we have the return of Ring of Honor. We just got finished talking about that. We have to recover all of that. Again, Zack Sabre Jr., Blake Christian, Takeshita Woods, Claudio A.R. Fox, all great matches. This week we have Tony Deppen versus Samoa Joe for the TV title. We've got Wheeler Yuta versus Timothy Thatcher for the pure title. Inject it into my veins, please. We get Willow versus Athena for the women's title.
I'm excited for that too.
I'm really excited. Like, Athena becoming the Ring of Honor Women's title champion was probably the best move they could have done for her, because she was another one of those people that was getting lost in the shuffle.
Yep.
And then at the end of the show, we get quite possibly the best thing that Ring of Honor could have done, and that is Eddie Kingston comes out and challenges Claudio Castagnoli. Basically says, "Hey, Moxley made me promise when I came to AEW that I wouldn't fight you here. Well, this ain't AEW. That I wouldn't fight you in AEW. Well, this ain't AEW, and I'm coming for that title." Now, while I was muted, I was talking about this. I went and got my hair cut last week, and I found out that my barber, she's a longtime indie wrestling fan. She used to go to old Chikara shows back in Philly back in the day. And Chikara is where Claudio and Eddie Kingston had their blood feud that just lasted forever. The two of them completely hated each other. And if we're getting that revived on Ring of Honor television, you just gave me a reason to buy Honor Club.
Yeah.
The only thing that we're worried about is that Ring of Honor becomes another Dark.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, while we were muted, a lot of our favorite wrestlers have come from ROH. Mm-hmm. And ROH deserves its own spotlight.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got names from the 2000s that they pumped out. Your Samoa Joes, your CM Punks, your Bryan Danielsons.
AJ Styles, Tyler Black.
AJ Styles, not so much. AJ Styles never really spent a lot of time in Ring of Honor.
Oh. Okay. He was more Impact. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A long-time Impact player. And then when he left there, he went to New Japan. Tyler Black, Adam Cole, the Bucks, Roddy Strong, Dalton Castle. Hell, Punishment Martinez, Damian Priest now.
Yeah.
I've been praising him since his Ring of Honor days, when he was Ring of Honor television champion.
Yeah, so, just hopefully they let them be their thing and continue to be Ring of Honor and not Dark or Elevation or. So
the only argument I have against it is that obviously we still have Tony Khan running the book.
Yeah.
And Tony, I'm sorry, you really got to let somebody else take over on that. You are way too busy to be handling the book for both AEW and Ring of Honor by yourself with all of the other things that you do on a daily basis.
Yep.
You got to space it out, man. You got to space it out. I think that covers pretty much everything that we said while we were muted.
Yeah, in a shortened version.
In a shortened version. We lost a little bit there, but I mean, it's what we got to do. On the WWE side of the house, not a lot of notes from... I didn't leave a lot of notes from NXT. We're getting progression in Chase U versus Schism. We're getting...
Yep.
A couple weeks ago when Nikita Lyons got attacked in the parking lot, we get another attack in the parking lot. Wendy Chu's been attacked, and Tiffany Stratton is the one person that says, stay away from the parking lot. Why is she the only person that gets that?
I love that because it shows, one, she watches the show, and two, she's fucking smart.
And like I mentioned in the notes, she has been one of the most improved wrestlers in the 2.0 era.
Yep.
If she's one of those, I was not sold on her from the like her first week, and every week more and more she wins me over. Speaking of getting won over, the toxic attraction the toxic attraction split. Gigi Dolan comes out with a fire ass promo.
Great fucking promo.
Did you watch it?
Great. Yeah, I watched the. Yeah.
Oh man, so good. Like she really put her heart into that. It was as like it was babyface, but it was dark babyface,
Correct.
and it fits her character so well. It fits the old
Passionate
school
baby.
Priscilla Kelly feel.
Good call.
I remember writing it like I typing it in the notes as it started that she came out to the Toxic Attraction music, and I was just like, why are we doing this? And then she actually starts the promo with cut the music. That's the last time you're ever gonna hear that music. And I was like, all right, good, you did it right, you did it right.
That was a big complaint of Roman's for the longest time, was he was still coming out to the Shield music.
That was literally my first thought was, oh my god, we're getting Roman and the Shield again. And then they immediately redacted it with, that's the last time you're ever going to hear that music. And I was just like, all right, you did it right. That's all really I had from NXT. Congratulations to Solo Sikoa on his marriage. We already congratulated Jinder Waller and Kelsey Plum. Let's give Solo his flowers too. And that explains why he was away a lot last week.
Yeah, and the pictures of him and the Usos at his wedding are hilarious. Jimmy and Jay kissing him on the cheek and stuff. Like it was.
I actually haven't seen those yet. I need to go check those out.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. You know, the wedding is always a good time. Or it should be a good time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was. I'm happy. Congrats, Solo.
Yeah. Hey, you're in Jersey right now. Sonya Deville recently got arrested in Jersey for carrying a weapon.
Sure did.
Throw that shit out.
Yeah, I seems like it was an honest mistake. She's
got a permit for it in the state of Florida. She's traveling with it because she's worried about her own. Let's not forget, Sonya Deville did still have to go through that home invasion. What was that? 2 years ago?
Last year.
Was it last year or the year before?
2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years ago. Because it was
Yeah,
while it was while her and Mandy were feuding, and that was during the Otis storyline too. So that was WrestleMania 37.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been 2 years now. You can't be mad at her for keeping herself armed, especially in today's day and age. She was properly licensed in her state.
And she just announced her engagement. Mm-hmm. She's already dealt with a stalker type before. Yeah, throw it out.
Yeah, throw that shit out. Get that shit out of here. This was shocking news. So we were all very out on the idea of Lesnar versus Omos, and then they sold us on the idea of Lesnar versus Omos last week on Raw.
Yep.
And then the news comes out last week that it also really has to do with the fact that Lesnar was the one turning down all these major matches. And he was the one that finally settled on Omos. And he's just like, no, that's a match I want. That's a match that I can work with. I like this specifically because of the fact Brock works way better when he's invested. And if he's invested in getting Omos over, then let's go. If that's the case, then I'm here for it.
He does, yeah, because we remember a few years ago the Dean Ambrose Brock Lesnar match at Mania, and it was dog shit.
The biggest letdown in the world.
Yeah.
The biggest of letdowns. It's just, so if we're hearing now that, like, he turned down Bray, he turned down Austin, he turned down a Bobby rematch, he turned down a lot of people before he settled on
Doesn't
Omos.
work for me, brother.
And if anybody can do that, it's him.
It is.
If anybody can call those shots. But, I mean, at the same time, what else would you really have Brock do? Like, after we've already said... So, and I actually want to address this, too, because the Bobby Bray feud started kicking off on SmackDown and Raw and whatnot. And it's not going very well.
Yeah.
It's very sloppy, and I don't
Before we
blame
dive into that, the one good thing about Lesnar and Omos is it'll be a 5-minute train wreck.
Actually, yeah, that's a really good point. It'll be a quick 5-minute train wreck.
It should be. It should be power move, big guy versus big guy, and let's get in, let's get out type situation.
That match should not last more than 10 minutes.
Shouldn't last more than 7.
10 minutes. Well, 10 minutes including entrances.
Fair.
Like that's going.
That's
going to be your piss break of the show.
Yep. But yeah, the Bobby and Bray thing, man. Like, look, like I'm so like kind of upset, honestly, because you go from Brock versus Bobby, which is a match that any wrestling fan would have wanted to see for the longest time, and it's been a match, and none of their 3 matches ended in a satisfying way.
Mm-hmm.
And now instead of us getting Brock and Bobby 4, we're getting 2 matches that we're not really excited about.
It's a really good point, actually. It's very underwhelming. A lot of the builds on Friday night on SmackDown were very underwhelming. Everyone was high on the idea of Cody and Roman's promo, and this whole idea, and like I'm warming up to it a little bit more with this idea that like they're pushing the whole Roman really was like they did this perfectly first off, where it's like Cody's like if you feel that you need your people here, then have them here, and then Roman sends them away and they have an actual face-to-face one-on-one. What threw me off was how they're still building it around the whole Dusty loved me more thing. And I feel like you can do so much more with that. What's up, What up, War? How you doing today, bud? I feel like again, this idea of like Roman comes out. He sends Heyman with the same message, and it is like the whole Roman is the son that Dusty always wanted, and then Roman doubles down on that in Cody's face, and Cody's response is, "Oh, now I just have to win." Bro, you just got told your father didn't want you. You should be swinging for the fucking fences.
Yeah, and like
that should have enraged him.
I agree. And the story that I think WWE should be telling is Cody winning the belt his father never did.
Mm-hmm.
This whole Dusty loves me more type shit, like I don't think we need that.
We don't.
You have the storyline of Dusty never winning it, Cody coming to WWE and becoming Stardust and not working, Cody betting on himself. And I do like that he threw in that he couldn't sell 10,000 seats at an indie show, and they did let him reference that on TV. I like that shout. But
like you bring up the point.
The story is Cody coming back after proving himself and winning the title his father couldn't. That's your story.
Yeah, like they started it off so well with that when there's like when Roman just like, you ever held that? You ever held that? Have you ever competed in the main event of Mania? You had everything right there. You had all the pieces lined up. And then you still segued into Dusty loved me more. You don't need that. You already had the perfect story right there. What are you doing?
Yep. Luckily, we still got 3 more weeks.
Yeah, we still have plenty of time. And honestly, like last night's Raw, we had a lot of motion on that as well. Cody coming in to save Sammy at the end of the show was a big surprise to me. Again, we're really kicking into gear. Like this whole Sammy Kevin will they won't they thing. It's a super standard build up. It's completely done right. Although I will say last night they did the whole at the end of the show. Jay comes out and they tease him going and siding with Sammy, giving him a hug, and then Jay super kicks Sammy, and now we're full force. We got the Usos versus the tag team now. We just see it coming. I also, and Cody coming out to save him instead of KO it's still building it, but I didn't see Cody coming.
So a couple things I want to touch on with that is, first, I don't think Cody should have came out. I think that they should have just beat Sammy up, and that's how the show went off. I think you need to keep Cody and Sammy away from each other. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. I think that you run the risk of the crowd turning on Cody, a la him refusing to turn heel in AEW. But also, I know we had to get to the tag match, right? We have to get to the Usos and KO and Sammy. Like, we have to get there one way or the other.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not completely sold on the idea of Jay turning just like that. I wish we could have got maybe a little bit more story from it. Maybe some more Roman gaslighting. Maybe some Jimmy gaslighting his brother. Unless, it could come down to we get the match at Mania and Jay somehow like gives himself up so Sammy and KO can. I don't know. I don't. You know what I mean?
Gonna disagree.
I feel like there's more story there.
So I'm going to disagree with you on 2 points. One, I think that yes, they could have afforded to do a little bit more gaslighting. I think they could have done that, but at the same time, they're stretching it out already too much, and we're already so many weeks. We're already like 3-4 weeks away. You got to start kicking things into gear. We don't have time for that much more gaslighting. We got to get that. We got to get that show on the road. Second off, I was originally suspicious of the whole Cody coming out and saving Sammy, but hear me out. In the build to Mania in the next few weeks, what if we get the Usos and Solo versus Cody, Sammy, and KO in that build?
Solid trios match, protect your stars for Mania. I don't hate it.
Which let's also address that as well, because this was something that was in the news this morning. There's apparently a lot of high praise for Solo, and they are expecting him to get a huge push after Mania. So to keep Solo, and let's not forget that Monday night, Solo and KO had the opening match, and that match ends by DQ, protecting Solo. Solo still has yet to be defeated. Hey, he still has yet to be pinned or submitted 1v1 since making his way up to the main roster. They're keeping him built strong as shit.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you could. I mean, I think Solo deserves a mid-card title run. Maybe Theory does another open challenge after he beats Cena at Mania. Solo comes out, Solo takes the belt off Theory, something like that. I don't know.
We're getting Jay White. Come on. Would I like to see Solo in that position otherwise? Also no, because then that means that Solo has to move from SmackDown to Raw, and you're splitting up the bloodline even further.
Oh, true. I forgot about that.
Although
I don't see him taking the IC off Gunther.
Yeah, that IC title picture is already... And let's talk about that IC title picture as well. Drew comes out on Friday night. And
because I disagree with your note here about the IC title. But go ahead. Go ahead.
So Drew comes out and it's like, I want a shot at the IC title at Mania. Sheamus is like, what the hell? You're my bro. Why would you take that opportunity from me? And then they start kicking into the... Well, you had your chance and you lost. I'm sorry. I didn't know I needed to ask for your permission. And then everyone else starts coming out the woodwork to start challenging. LA Knight comes in. You can't have an LA Mania without LA Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where'd it go?
Dummy! Yeah!
Yeah. There we go. I had to look for that for a moment.
So, I don't disagree with what you saying. We haven't had an old-fashioned multi-man ladder match. I loved it when they did those in the early 30s Manias. But your last note where you say it makes it unlikely that Gunther retains, I still think that Gunther's going to break Honky Tonk's record.
I agree too. I would love to see it. And if he does retain, it keeps him extra strong, especially when you have him going up in a multi-man match. So I wrote that on Friday night as it was going, and I was like, it makes it seem unlikely. But again, that's all in the build. I think it's designed so that way we can continue to build Gunther to be this unstoppable machine.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm here for it. Again, they're also advertising it as a 5-way gauntlet match, or a 5-way match, a fatal 5-way match this week on SmackDown to determine who's going to face Gunther. I would not be surprised if that match ends in some form of shenanigans.
Yeah, I agree. And we get the title match. Or the ladder match, rather. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the other option that everyone was throwing around was Drew versus Sheamus versus Gunther in a triple threat. It would be good.
It would be. It'd be very good.
It would be very good. But at the same time, if you can also throw the three of them into a multi-man ladder match like we've been getting with the IC title in the past couple years, namely WrestleMania 31 and 32.
Yeah.
Which both... I don't care what anyone says. I loved both of those IC ladder matches.
Yep.
I loved both of them a lot. We got some great spots out of those. I'm never going to forget WrestleMania 31, that spot of Luke Harper powerbombing Dean Ambrose through the ladder. That's the bridge ladder. It was the first time we ever saw that spot.
The RKO out of the stomp.
Mm-hmm. Well, the RKO out of the stomp was a 1v1, was just a one-on-one match.
Was it?
Yeah, that was just Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins to open the show.
Oh, okay.
So that way they could have Seth lose, but then still have Seth come out at the end of the show and heist of the century.
Heist of the century.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, if you at that point as well, you're making room for more people on the card that deserve to have their spot on the card. There are reports that Kofi suffered an injury during that brawl, and that Kofi might get replaced in the match this week. That remains to be seen. If so, it's unfortunate to see Kofi get injured again, especially while we're still waiting on Big E to return. If he's ever going to return, we don't want to put any negative ideas out there, but it's still possible that he may not return.
Yeah, I agree.
Matt Hardy on his podcast says that there are no plans right now for a Jeff Hardy return. Good. We
talked about it last week.
He needs time away.
How many chances does somebody get? Let him, and like you said in the notes, let him rest up.
It's doing Riddle some good. Riddle seems a lot happier and healthier on social media these days, getting his time away, even if it's just him posting a lot of selfies with his porn star girlfriend, but it's whatever. Man went through a lot last year. Man went through a lot.
He did. In WWE incorporating it into the storyline with him and Seth, did go through a lot. So yeah, let Matt Hardy, or Jeff Hardy rather, take a break. Honestly, I wouldn't be upset if the next time we see Jeff Hardy in a ring is at his Hall of Fame induction.
I wouldn't be upset either. I'm okay with that. Speaking of the Hall of Fame, so there's been a lot of discussion about what's going on with the Hall of Fame this year. Is it still happening? Are there still people getting inducted? All that kind of stuff. There hasn't been a lot of news. I originally typed in on Saturday that news broke of the first Hall of Fame announcement being Stacy Keibler, as reported by Inside Sport. And then I actually had that question corroborated by Sean Ross Sapp, and he did some digging, found out it was false. I actually went back afterwards and read the article, and you could tell that the article was very much fake. And I even put it in here because I was just like, really, Stacy Keibler being the first one announced, because everyone was so sure that they were going to announce Batista on Friday night at SmackDown in DC, in his hometown. It made sense, and it didn't happen. I don't know. It's honestly, we're getting to the point in the season now where you're getting a little behind. We need to start making some of these calls on these Hall of Fame decisions.
I agree.
Other than that, or you're just going to give us a nice big batch of people.
Yeah, or do they push the Hall of Fame out to SummerSlam?
I hadn't even thought about that, but that's not a bad idea either. I mean, it feels like Mania is still the right place to do it, but if they just so happen to do a one-off and decide, hey, we're going to do it on SummerSlam weekend this year.
Right.
WrestleMania weekend's too packed, you want to move it to some other time, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure, man, they've got some great storytelling going right now with Bloodline and all the other Seth versus Logan and Cena Theory. They've got a lot of stories and stuff to go at WrestleMania. If they don't want to bloat the runtime by announcing their Hall of Fame inductions, push it back.
Absolutely.
Why not?
No, I can completely agree with that. Let me see. We already covered Revolution notes. We covered that. This was just a small note that I made also during SmackDown. You have a singles match between Tegan Nox and Shayna Baszler, yet Shayna comes out the Ronda's music, comes out the Bad Reputation, and Tegan comes out the Natty's music.
Yeah, what the fuck are we doing?
What are we doing here, people? What are we doing? That's not how you build your stars.
Ooh.
It's not how you do it. In an interview with Fightful, Raven tells us that he's not done in the ring yet, and he still has more to give.
Ravens flock.
Who signs him? Right now, he's making his rounds on the indies. If he gets signed anywhere, where does he go?
Why not ROH?
I thought about Ring of Honor. My other option would be Impact. because he
Yeah.
is an Impact. He's an Impact Hall of Famer, so
He is.
also an option.
Yep.
And then a couple notes coming out of last night's show. Becky G, popular Latin recording star, is going to be singing "American the Beautiful" at Mania. Now, good for her. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You're a Grammy-winning recording artist, I believe. But why do we have a Latin star singing "America the Beautiful"?
Yeah.
I'm just it's just what, again, nothing wrong with it per se, but it's confusing. It's a confusing decision.
Yeah. I agree.
Just a little bit confusing. Just get the Weeknd to do it. He does all the music anyways. He's had the
True,
WrestleMania
he really
theme for
does.
like the past 5 years in a row now. Flow Ride is pissed.
Kid Rock's not happy.
Kid Rock's got his Hall of Fame ring. He doesn't care.
True.
Last night's show was a lot of just like, to summarize everything though, it was a lot of just builds, getting the people where they need to be, and finalizing a lot of these matches for Mania. Seth
Yeah.
Logan is finalized. Cena Theory is finalized. That promo, by the way, was surprisingly
Great.
good.
It was great.
Like, it felt a little bit like Cena burying Theory, but at the same time, if Theory wins this match and comes out on top, it does make him look good. And
I
again,
agree, and I think he will.
and I
There's a-
still think all the
spoiler-
ideas of Jay White debuting on the Raw after Mania and taking that title from him immediately, I still love that idea. I want
I
it.
do too. I do too.
We get the official announcement for the King and Queen of the Ring in Jeddah.
Love it. Love that it's in Saudi Arabia too. Women's wrestling has come a long way in Saudi, and I think that they're continuing to make good strides with that. I feel like they're turning. WWE was panned for signing this deal with Saudi, and I feel like they're making the best of it.
No, agreed. And then the only other note that we have from last night, Vince was backstage.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about Vince backstage last night. There's also a lot of talk about his apparently Gomez Adams-like mustache. Much like the rest of
Man.
the internet, I want real pictures of this mustache to surface. Everyone's waiting. All the pictures that have been circulating have been fake. I need to see a real one. The one I saw that was floating around last night on Reddit, the "It's Me Austin," yes, that one. He's got a Gomez Adams mustache, is what everyone is saying. The picture that was floating around on social media on Reddit last night and everything made him look more like Tom Selleck than anything. Like, legitimately, I looked at that picture and I was like, is that Tom? Is he trying to pull a Tom Selleck mustache off? That doesn't look like Gomez Adams.
So, before we start sounding the alarms and running for the hills, he could be backstage for a number of reasons.
They did say that a lot of the reports were just saying that he was just back there to see Cena and like watch the show and just pop in and say hi. There wasn't there was a lot of reports that he was sitting at gorilla position the entire night, just saying hi to people, welcoming them. A lot of people were ignoring him, and we're just like, you're not here. We don't see you.
So this does not necessarily mean anything bad for Papa H. Doesn't necessarily mean anything bad for WWE. It doesn't necessarily mean anything bad for us as fans. I agree. I mean, he loves John Cena. Loves that man, and the respect that they do have for one another. You know, it doesn't surprise me that Vince and Cena were there on the same night. Let's not jump to conclusions before we get anything else out of it.
Absolutely. And I think that actually covers all of our news for this week. We promised a shorter episode. We got a shorter episode.
We can do we can end on the funny note about Kenny.
Oh yeah, let's do that. You wrote that. Your closing thought of the day?
It came out that Kenny Omega pronounces GIF like GIF, and personally, I can't support this nonsense from Kenny anymore.
You wrote that and I popped. Not gonna lie.
Hey, this is outrageous.
This is about as outrageous as Will Levis being afraid of milk.
Correct. It's GIF. It's not GIF. It's not fucking peanut butter. Kenny, what are you doing?
it's just one of those things where you just kind of look at it and just like, really, guys, really, yeah.
So, but yeah, we've got a lot to look forward to in this upcoming week. We're still on the road to WrestleMania. We're still building, and I think Raw and SmackDown both did a good job of building shows because we can't really risk injuries right now. Nobody wants to get hurt this close to Mania, a la Kofi. Also, the league year officially opens on Monday.
This is true.
So
we're gonna have
Tuesday,
a lot. We're gonna lot that.
Next Tuesday, we'll have a lot to talk about. Hopefully, we have a lot to talk about. I think we'll start seeing some shuffles. I think we'll see some free agents possibly getting signed, some trades maybe.
These dominoes are going to start following a lot quicker.
Yeah. While we were live, it wasn't breaking news worthy, but I got a note from Yahoo Sports saying that the Jets are, quote, becoming serious, end quote, about getting Aaron Rodgers. So we'll keep an eye on that throughout the week.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes this week. That's going to do it for us this week, though. We will be back next week, probably at our usual time. Again, this week was just schedules were a little jumbled. We had to get back. We had to push a little bit. No, it's all good. It's all good. But like, if anything, we got an opportunity for more people like that weren't sitting in here on their work breaks or whatever, trying to chime in or anything. We actually had we have quite a few people. So yeah, thanks again for everybody coming out. Really appreciate it. That's gonna do it for us. Your camera's still behind, so you're still it's still whatever. We're just gonna make it and work. We're just gonna run with it like we did the other week.
Yep.
Get better. Well, you're in a hotel. I can't yell at you about your internet. So yeah.
Hopefully
what can you do?
We'll fix it.
What can you do?
All right, everybody. Well, we'll see y'all next week. Rich, I'll talk to you soon, bud.
All right. Yeah, that's gonna do it for us. We will see y'all next week. Until then, keep blazing, stay amazing, baby. I'm Dick Burns. He's Bobby Boomerang. Burn down the hotel. Good answer, Vaughn. Follow us both on Twitter. Join the Discord. Here's my socials. We'll have to get him on here.
Subscribe.
Yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Leave a comment. Tell your friends. Tell your mama. Tell your mama's friends. Here's the Discord link. And yeah, that's gonna do it for us today.
Later.